Gayatri, allow me a moment, huh? Just give me a second. Can you give me 2 minutes? I'm just trying to work on the Zoom thing on my iPad so that I can scribble better.
So, in the meantime, let me start by welcoming all those who've already joined us today. Thank you so much. I have a few known names here and people. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Gayatri Devi. I am the chapter president for India for Applied AI Association, founded in California. We are just about maybe a 6, 8 month old organization. In the journey of setting up our people to be ready for the AI age, we are here to bridge the digital divide. We are here to make sure that technology is accessible to all and affordable to all, and people kind of understand what's going on behind the scenes. We've been hosting a few events in the past. One of which was about ERP, one of which was about healthcare. I think all of those events are very well received by our audience. But something told me that more than all this, what people in India especially will need to know, the techies in India will need to know, is what goes behind the scene. How are we making things happen? There are a lot of plethora of content on YouTube. There is so much that we all can learn. So many courses are there. But what is not coming out very clearly, especially in this journey, is how do I do things? So I thought that is where we will need some people who've been there, done that, to come and tell us how is it done. Now here we are with our showcase sessions. This is the first of the series. Thanks to Tameesh and Nupur to have helped me put this up together. They go first on this episode. They're going to talk about Fixit, and then Tameesh is going to walk us through what goes behind the scenes. I think that is exactly what all of us want to be learning. We will talk more about this. There's going to be kind of a podcast and an exchange between Tamish and I. But let me tell you, after 30 minutes or so, I'm going to stop and then the questions turn over to you. I put some rules and etiquettes on the chat box by the side. I would request each of you to just eyeball that. Keep yourselves on mute all through the session. When we open it up for questions, please put up your hands. I will go by the order in which the hands are raised, and we can take you all through a question hour session as well. Hope that is clear. And thank you, Tamish. I'm turning it around to you. Talk about Fix It and yourself, and then we can get started.
Thank you. Thank you, Gayatri, for setting the stage. And hey, everyone, thank you for joining and taking our time at 7 o'clock in the evening and listening to us. So my name is Tameesh. I'm the founder of this product called Fixit. Essentially, building in the AI space for the last 7, 8 odd years. I was fortunate to work in that space. Started talking to Gayatri recently, and Gayatri told me that there is a fundamental area we can probably talk and uh, understand from the people around what are the main questions they are facing when they are working in this space. And AI is a buzzword, so everybody has a lot of questions in this space. So last 8 odd years, I was heavily invested in building AI solutions, especially on the pharma drug discovery clinical trial side. Building solutions so that we can develop or expedite the drug discovery and clinical trials optimization space. Last year, coincidentally, I personally faced a problem while I was buying an insurance product online. And half of the things this guy told me in that call were not correct or false. That started or triggered me to identify and fix that problem statement as to why is that happening in today's world, that why is nobody cared or why is nobody caring or bothered about fixing that problem. And that's why I think Fixit as an organization, the name of the product, came into existence. And we identified that compliance is a very big problem in these customer conversations. But when we started to dig deeper, we figured that compliance is just tip of an iceberg. About $1 trillion worth of products only in BFSI and real estate market today are sold over telecalls, or telecalls is an important channel in that entire sales funnel. $1 trillion. 99% of these customer conversations are not monitored because manually it's an inefficient and a costly process. So we've been hearing those sentences. This call is being monitored for quality and monitoring purposes. 100% probability that it is recorded, 0% or close to 1% probability that this is being monitored. So we wanted to take that 1% to at least 25, 30, 40, 100%. And that's the fundamental reason we started to work on product called Fixit, wherein we are fixing your end-to-end sales and customer support funnel by analyzing your customer conversations in more than 250 languages and giving you insights that can help you improve your customer experience, that can help you improve your or solve for compliances, that can help you improve your processes, and at the end of the day, help you your top line, your revenue. We've launched this product about 6 months back. Been fortunate enough to get some good enterprise clients, working with these clients in Indian subcontinent and Middle Eastern market, recently been funded by Government of India. So that's been the journey so far. And I'm super, super excited to work in this space. I am fortunate enough, and so are you guys, but super excited to work in this space in the next few years.
Sure, sure. Talk about identifying the white space and playing to that on time. I think timing is a very important thing in all of this. See, I have been in the technology arena for 3 decades now. One thing that I'm very comfortable with, and I'm sure many of our friends on this call also would have this curiosity if they've not already tried their hands on technology, the AI technology yet. One of the questions that keeps coming on my mind is, yes, we're talking about so much of all of this, so much hype, but where do I start? Now, I usually started my technology journeys in the past when I started learning .NET or when I started learning ASP or one of these technologies was, or for that matter, even metaverse. I started with how do we layer this whole thing? Where does it start? Is it a 2-tier, 3-tier, N-tier architecture? What kind of modeling do we do? What is the design pattern? So these are the terms that I'm personally used to, and I'm very comfortable talking about databases and servers and apps and stuff like that. Tell me how, for an AI app, if we were to develop an AI app ground up today, where should I start? You feel free to use the whiteboard and tell us, where do I start? How do I kind of layer it? I think that could be one of the most important things that many of us are trying to grapple with. Can you throw some light on that? Because all this LLM and stuff, so much talked about it, but where do I start?
Yeah, I'll not go into the details of tier N1, 2. I'll try to make it relatively simpler, but if people have more questions, so that I don't bore the audience, Gayatri, please excuse me on that. If people have specific questions, I'm happy to answer those. In fact, somehow my iPad has been acting up. Let me open the Excel file and help you understand what is the fundamental technology that we're using, right? If you try and think what kind of data we are consuming customer conversations data, right? Which is in form of telecalls, emails, chats, right? These are the set of customer conversations that we consume as an input to the system. Emails and chats are still fine because these are directly available in the text format, right? Telecalls, if I want to extract some meaningful insights, I need to be able to convert those telecalls into a meaningful, something that can be consumed by the system. So the first processing we do on the input data is convert these telecalls into text, which is known as a process of transcription.
I want to increase the font size a little bit. It's too small to read. Or I don't know if it's my age.
No. Is it visible now?
16 may be better. Okay.
Yeah. So this is my customer conversations. I'm converting these customer conversations, telecalls into text. We have an engine, in-house proprietary engine that converts these telecalls into transcript in more than 250 languages. We've built it on Meta's architecture, trained it on publicly available data sources. Once the transcript is available, most of the cases, I am talking to you over Zoom right now. This is one of the highest quality of conversation or telecall that we can have because it's done on internet. But most of our traditional systems in GSM days or call centers still use primitive systems. They don't have such high quality. So once we have the transcript available, we want to be able to increase the accuracy of the transcript by synthetically creating the data which was lost during the transcription. So we have this synthetic data layer generation. Right? Once we say that, okay, now we are confident that the text that we've received is in a good quality, we move on to the next layer, which is my insight layer. Here we use.
Sorry to interrupt, Tameesh. Here, are you saying that you're taking me from if we were to explain it to a 5-year-old or maybe a 20-year-old who's just getting into this field, are you telling me that you start from your user interface and then you go forward into the backend? Is that how you're taking me through this?
Yes. So in fact, I can show you the product that will be able to make more sense to you guys.
No. I really want to know the way it is architected, so you can go bottom up or top down, but just help us understand that.
So this consumption is either done through UI or we directly have the APIs integrated into the system, the CRM system. Once the call is processed, it triggers an event and we automatically capture that data for you. Or a user has an option of directly uploading all of these conversations, chat, email, calls on the UI itself. So everything that I'm explaining to you is beyond UI because UI is just an interface that looks good, but there's a lot of complex calculations happening at the back end that helps you get those meaningful insights. So this is probably UI or backend both, but this is all backend.
Right.
Does that
And why
answer?
do you need synthetic data if you already have all the real-time data there? What is the necessity for a synthetic layer here? Or is this during the testing phase?
No, the problem is because all these call centers and companies who are doing bulk calling, they try and store the data in a lowest possible fidelity. The quality of the calls reduces a lot in that because they want to save on storage space, right? Because the quality of the call is reduced. Now, when you are extracting the text from that conversation, a lot of information is lost in that entire transcription process. So if the base information is faulty, the analysis is going to be faulty. The outcome is as good as the input that goes into the system, right?
Right.
So in order to improve that part, we've created that synthetic data layer synthetic data generation layer, which improves the input to an extent.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Post this, we say now we are confident that the data that we've received is good enough. We move on to the next layer, which is my insight layer. Right. This is my second layer. Now, this insight layer is something based on the success criteria that the user has defined on the product or on the portal. This insight layer helps us extract different insights on customers, on revenue, on agents, on products, competition, etc., etc. And this insight layer is built on a combination of agentic workflows. Again, it's a buzzword these days. I'm sure people would have heard of it, if not know the depth of that space. This agentic workflows helps us to extract these insights and give us these insights. Okay, based on, let's say, revenue, what are the possible opportunities of creating a revenue in this with this customer? This is a basic insight, right? What were the fatal errors or compliance issues that were made by an agent in the call? Or what were the cross-selling opportunities that were occurring in the call? I'm just giving you a very broad example specific to sales. Or what kind of questions customers are asking? Are they satisfied with the way you're dealing with them? Sentiment of the customer, probability of that customer buying that product. I mean, these are all insights that are derived. But the problem with these AI agentic flows is they hallucinate a lot. So as long as insight is concerned, they give you good insight. But as long as the decision making is concerned, what do I do with these insights? If let's say I tell you that this is a good probability conversion, but what do I need to do in order to improve convert that customer immediately, right? So then comes a third layer, which is my business
Before
layer.
you move to the third layer, a question that is lingering on my mind, I think Renu, who's joined us, has also asked this question. You said that the synthetic layer helps improve the quality of the data, the raw data. My understanding when you said that was there are ways and means to make the structured formatting of the whatever call comes in, clean it up a little bit. That is what the synthetic layer does. Help me understand if that's what you mean by improving the quality, or is it something else? Because the word synthetic is slightly scary. That it might bring in some new words or new phrases, which may not be what the discussion was all about or conversation was all about. So tell me what the synthetic layer really does here.
Yeah, synthetic is not always bad. I get your point, but here what we're trying to do is actually we're trying to do both. Clean the data is one aspect. Synthetically, data generation is happening wherein we are, let's say there was a sentence wherein customer was asking a certain question, but half of the question was there and the rest of the half of the question was lost while transcription. Based on the conversation context and the kind of questions customer are asking, we will be able to complete that sentence. And this is not just asking ChatGPT to complete the sentence. There are sophisticated models like GAN models which are deployed. They make sure that the hallucination is minimized while synthetic data generation is happening. And
Yeah.
synthetic data generation only happens if that model feels that there is a more than 90% confidence of creating that data. Okay, so we score every synthetic data, I mean, every data that is created synthetically, more than 90% is only passed and stored in that transcript.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Renu, I hope that answers. Otherwise, just hold on to your question still. We will turn it around in the next 15-20 minutes for audience question. Yeah. Go ahead, please, with the third layer.
Third layer is a business layer, which basically helps us go beyond insight layer and tells us, okay, this is the insight. What do you do with that insight? LLMs today are not good with decision making, so you can't just rely on LLMs. This is insight layer is all agentic. Business layer is one step ahead. We're going back to our roots, wherein we are saying that we are going to be using our second generation or third generation AI models like machine learning, neural net, neural networks, or for that matter, NLP techniques, classic NLP algorithms that helps us make business sense out of these insights. So for example, if I tell you this is the script of the process that an agent is following, business layer will tell you what are the most important processes that will help you convert the sales. Okay, so that you are also not able to understand, okay, this is a good insight, but you will also be able to figure out what do I need to do in order to improve my top line? Because at the end of the day, top line is what matters, or companies will only be spending on something which helps them either reduce a cost to a certain extent or improve their sales. So business layer, once this is available, again, I don't know if I should be touching a little, if I want to go a little deeper into this. There is a graph DB layer on which these two layers are dependent on. This graph DB layer creates the entity mapping, business entity mapping between different entities like customer, product, agent. It has automatically been able to identify those entities and creates a relationship between these. So this
Something
business,
that's pre-prepared, right?
yeah,
Something that
that
it
is,
takes as a feed.
yes.
Yeah.
So you can say this agentic and these two layers are actually working on top of this,
Right.
right? And then the fourth layer, I would not say this is a fourth layer. This is an intermediary layer that helps us reach to a certain decision. Fourth layer is my application layer, which is what is visible to the user, where you have certain APIs, where you have certain dashboards, where you have certain list of the calls and the data available in a human understanding format. And on the application layer, we are going one step ahead where we are saying that we don't want to be constrained with the rigid dashboards. Traditional SaaS products have these dashboards which have graphs, etc., which is good. But what if we give you the capability of creating a chat GPT on top of your system where you can just type and ask these questions in real time? Imagine you're able to ask this intelligent agent which agent has done the highest sales in the last 6 months and what are the improvement areas for those agents so that it can improve the sales, right? So this application layer again is powered by these three layers. So this layer 2 and layer
So I think the way I would like to understand this is, for me, it's the application layer first, where I see the application. For me, for example, this Excel is an application, right? We have a mobile application. We have so many other apps that we use on a day-to-day basis. So like that, if my business has an application where they want to see which region has done well in the past 1 month, or which agent or broker has done well, I ask that question, and then it goes behind to the business layer. It fetches all of this data, should be ready with it by then, because this is happening real time as well, as I understand. And then all your analysis and insight should be able to quickly tell the user. All the slicing and dicing of data happens on the back end, and then it shows on the application who has done well. Is that a fair understanding? With all the data that gets collected from the customer conversation, and you've done all the processing in the back end, this is what happens from the front end. Is that a fair understanding of this?
absolutely. I'm at least doing explaining something right that you're able to understand in one go. So yes, that's
Okay. Okay, so good. And we have again, Renu, you have asked a question. When you ask for improvement areas, you're pulling the response from Chat GPT. So this is something, right? Just not for Renu. I have seen that we are end users of Chat GPT, right? If you ask me, I would go and say, prepare a PPT, do this, do that. I mean, I'm trying to give it many tasks and it gets it done. And then I'm happy with what I get, or I go for another round. But that is the Chat GPT alone is not the AI thing. Your Fixit as an app, right? What does that ride on? Are you looking at something in the back end like an LLM? Are you writing an SLM for it, or are you trying to fine tune what is available? Can you just go into a little bit of details there, because ChatGPT alone is not everything.
yes, chat GPT alone is not everything, but even if it is, you are able to solve problem using chat GPT and able to provide users with certain value add services. That's also not a bad
So
business.
you write a wrapper on top of ChatGPT. Is that what your app does, or how
No,
does your app work
we
that
are
way?
we've gone one step ahead, but what I'm trying to tell you is, since this question was not coming from a fixed standpoint, it's a generic question that what if we write a wrapper on ChatGPT? If you are able, I'll answer this question in two parts. One in generic sense and what we are doing in Fixit. Even if you are able to write a wrapper on top of ChatGPT and it is solving a problem, and you are able to give the value add service, what is the harm? For example, there are a lot of event scheduling or meeting scheduling apps floating around in the market.
Right.
It's just a wrapper, pure play wrapper on top of Chat or GPT, right? OpenAI. But the value add that it is giving me, let's say if I'm able to talk to that system and tell them that, okay, here are the list of 10 meetings that I'm telling you, go and schedule these 10 meetings. I would not mind paying $5 a month on that product if it is able to do that. It's just a wrapper. But the value prop is so high that while driving, while talking to someone, while eating, I don't have to open up my laptop again and again and schedule that meeting, right? And if it is able to give me or suggest me list of people that, hey, these are the list of people that you would want in the meeting, should I go ahead and send that meeting invite? It's a wrapper, but still it is solving a problem. So it's not bad. Now
I mean, it's okay. You carry on, you finish, and then I will tell you.
coming back to now what we're doing in Fixit. Fixit is not just a pure play wrapper because Chat GPT will not understand your business. Chat GPT will not understand your industry. Chat GPT will not understand these insights. So the different models like synthetic data generation, agentic AIs, these business layer, this is above and beyond chat GPT, wherein we are adding some value add. And this value add is not added just for the sake of adding a value add. This value add was added because there was a need of infusing a lot of domain knowledge in this. In fact, the graph DB that we've implemented is built on a lot of sales specific data entities and the domain knowledge. Does that answer your question?
So, so in which case, my question again goes back to if you've created most of this, maybe you fine-tuned some LLM for your purpose. Is that how I should understand? Then you've taken something that exists with some amount of data on customer conversations. On top of that, you have worked to train it and fine-tune it, and then you brought in your business layers, your analytical layers, and graph DB and all of that, so that whatever you've trained makes sense. And then this is a cyclic process. What you learn, what you get as inputs, which still go back and train the model again. So is that a fair understanding?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So what LLM was this based on there? How do you go about? So that's where I'm looking to really understand this better. How do you choose your LLM? How do you go? Because I know in India we are yet to build our own LLM. So how do you go about choosing which one to go in the market?
I would not deny that I have been guilty of falling into that trap as well. We started with we want to build our own LLMs because I understand 5 years back, me and my team in the previous organization were working on similar architecture, transform and reinforcement learning architecture, and we've kind of built a small language model at that point in time, 5 6 years back, for a pharma use case. So at core, I understood these models. So we also fell into that trap of building our own LLMs, etc. So you can either do two things: either build something ground up or solve a problem. Building ground up, you need tons of money.
Right.
You need tons of resources. You need tons of, patience to be able to get
Yep.
to that. So then we figured that okay, we are solving a problem. That's the first why I entered into this space, right? So then we shelved that project and then we started using the existing LLMs and started finding them. Now, answering your second question, which LLM are we using? By default, we use OpenAI.
Mhm.
We have a plug and play model with all the LLMs in the world, whether you want DeepSeek, you want Anthropic, you want Mistral, you want any other LLM, or you want a look because we're working with a lot of banks right now, and the banks requirements are we don't need any on the cloud LLMs. We need everything to be deployed in our server.
I was
On
coming
our,
to that. Yeah. Mm.
so Llama is the default option in that. So let's say Llama could be one of the options where you don't need these on the cloud LLMs, and these Llama models can be deployed in their servers. So it depends on the client requirements and their comfort with certain type of LLM that we decide.
Understand this again is you have made it LLM agnostic, if I can use that term here,
Yeah,
right? So what that means is from your synthetic data building part of it. I think transcript is just a dump, so that would come into you the way it is. But from your synthetic layer onwards, it is all done based on how you will feed it into different LLMs. And I think the bridge would be an API or something that will connect to an LLM. Is that a fair understanding?
that is correct. That is
So
correct.
you will have, we used to call them connectors and stuff in the past when it comes to, connecting to different databases. So like that, you would have different APIs which will connect to different LLMs. And depending on what your customer, if I am running a retail shop and I want to be tracking my sales on different products that I put up on my showcase, would I then tell you that, look, I already have invested in OpenAI, so give me a solution of yours which will work on my open AI. So you will then start working towards giving him or her whatever their need is. Is that how your customer
That is,
conversations go?
that is correct. We
Okay.
built
And if you're, yeah, go ahead, please.
complete your thought. Complete your
No,
thought.
and if your customer says, I don't know where to begin, and you will have a recommendation, right? What LLM is better, and so just tell me about that.
We've built it in a way where it is like a Lego building block. You plug and play based on the customer needs. Right.
Right.
And yes, we work it from a problem statement standpoint rather than solution standpoint. That whatever the need is, let's say GPT by default works with more languages, works with, uh, but is more robust, latency is low, but is little expensive as compared to other LLMs, right? So it all depends on finding a fine balance. What's your immediate need, right? If I'm working on a use case where the accuracy might not be 100% or maybe 95%, it can be lower, but I need more cost-effective solution. So that kind of decision is, or problem statement or problem variables helps us define what LLM, what cost, what infra should we be choosing.
Sure, I'm sure each of that has its own rate card. But what is it that you would recommend for your kind of product? What is the recommended configuration of recommended LLM and infra, Tameesh?
There is no recommendation. It's like by default we have OpenAI because we are hosted on Azure.
Okay.
Okay? That's a by default option that we provide until and unless customer cherry picks something. I am more comfortable in OpenAI because I have seen a lot of pluses of OpenAI in some cases, but Anthropic has its own pluses, right? So there's no recommendation until and unless it is not oriented from a problem statement standpoint. Again, I know
Right.
it's a very vague answer I'm giving you, but that's the reality that we've been facing with the customers.
Sure. Sure. So actually, what leads to that question is my thinking of if I'm a business owner and I'm very particular about my data and how I ring fence it, you recommend me to probably buy OpenAI and then I configure that. And tell me how can I have it in my own premises because I don't want to go to cloud, or probably I choose a private cloud and then I implement all my software there. So on the same thing, I get my LLM as well. That LLM, do you end up training more and getting your entire product based on what the customer has bought? Is that how the approach is, or do you have a different way of doing this?
See, the good part is this layer is already fine tuned. This layer will be LLM sits here, right? Let's say LLM is out of our system. These things are dependent on LLM to be able to give you certain insights, right?
Hmm.
These models are already fine tuned. So we deploy these models in a containerized form in their infrastructure, provided they have good machines, good GPUs.
Hmm.
For this, you don't need a specific, it's like we've already built a platform for a car, right?
Hmm.
Whether now we build Kia Seltos on top of it or Hyundai Creta is a different question because you have already built a platform, right? LLM, whether you use OpenAI, it's fine. But now if you say I want everything on prem, these models will be in containerized format in your system. LLM, we can say, okay, because you need on prem, we can create an instance of Llama 70 billion for you. Now, this thing will be integrated with Llama through API. So you don't need to specifically retrain Llama or fine tune Llama because you've already done that in this layer,
Okay.
right?
But
Only
for
thing you
your
need,
particular customer data, you will have to still do a training, right? You will get something default, but on top of it.
that we'll have to anyways do it, whether it is on
Anyway,
prem
do it. Yeah. Hmm.
on cloud. And the models are smart enough to be able to retrain themselves to a certain extent. But yes, that auto learning curve, we'll have to set it up for that particular customer.
Sure. Got it. There's one more question again. Only Renu seems to be asking. I'm okay, so long as there are questions. Uh, she's asking if the same model can be replicated to any other data, like yours is conversational calls.
Uh, Renu, do you mind elaborating? What do you
Yeah.
mean by?
Renu, do you want to unmute and ask your question yourself? It
Hi,
isn't coming out clearly. Yeah.
yeah, sure. Am I audible?
Yeah, you
Yes.
are.
Hi. So, I'm just wondering, you're pulling out insights effectively, business insights from data, which is these calls, right? So, does the same work for any other data, which is, let's say it is documents, or it is, I mean, I can only think of two things, either you have data in terms of voice or you have it in terms of text. I can't think of a third thing, but there's the same voice-based data work, data as in the process that you've gone through to extract those insights. Do you think it'll work on text as well?
Yes. So if you look at this, that's a good question, Renu. And thank you for being asked. I mean, thank you for asking a lot of questions at least. If you look at this, the calls are first converted to text, and then all of this magic is happening, right? Even if you have other modality of data, which is text, video, I don't know if it is going to work, video, even video, everything is going to be working only on text.
So you'll transcribe everything and then use it.
There are certain nuances which will directly work on video and audio, which are tonality of the conversation. In video, there could be certain visual cues that you'll be able to extract, etc. But 95% of the analysis is happening on your textual data. So even if document, email, chats, WhatsApp chats, all of those come, we'll be able to handle those.
Understood. I have two follow-up questions, and to give you a little bit of context, I mean, I'm a lawyer and I have a legal tech company as well. So we work with text and documents, and we pull out something called insights, summaries, data analytics, etc., etc. So what we have seen in 2 years is context length is a problem, right? So where my accuracy is almost 100 for 2,500 pages, there is data loss the minute that goes to 10,000 pages. So when I heard you say that you're introducing this layer of synthetic data to kind of deal with a problem like this, I didn't understand, I mean, what that meant, and if if it's okay to elaborate on that.
Tameesh, are you able to hear her? Can you
Yeah,
go ahead?
I think there was some connection issue. I got.
Did you hear her question fully?
I was able to hear her partially. So, Renu, I'm so sorry, but can you?
No, it's okay. Sorry, I'm on the road. I didn't realize. Yeah, am I audible now? I'll just repeat my question. Yeah. Okay. So, what I heard you say earlier was that you're adding a synthetic data layer to improve the accuracy of the raw data. And what I have seen in my experience is that the accuracy is a problem as the size of the data, if I may say so, is increasing. So the greater the data that you have to process, the greater is the loss of accuracy. So I'm interested in understanding if and how is a synthetic layer helping in dealing with that problem? I mean, I hope I was audible through my question.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's more of a question. Okay, let's take a step back and understand why was that synthetic data introduced. That synthetic data was not introduced to handle the scale problem. That synthetic data was introduced because inherently we were losing a lot of data while we were transcribing it from voice.
Why were you losing that data, if I may ask?
Yeah. So generally, when we are talking to anyone on the phone call or in video, there are three types of communication that happens. One is a GSM oriented communication, which is 2G, what we used to do back then. I mean, 10, 15 years. Then comes voice over internet, what we are doing these days. And then comes these high fidelity, an extension of voice over internet, which is your videos, what we do on Gmeet and Zoom. These are the highest quality. In fact, what we are doing right now on Zoom is also the highest quality. Voice over internet is also good. But GSM data, all these call centers and big banks where they're storing tons and lakhs and millions of conversations on a monthly basis. They
Hmm.
try and store this data in a lowest fidelity possible, or
Hmm.
lowest, so that they can save on storage cost. Right? Now, when the machine is listening to those conversations, which are in that GSM specific modality or option, because it was in the lowest fidelity, you tend to lose the data when the transcription is happening from those calls. Right? And I don't want to get into a lot of technicalities.
Understood.
There is a lossy compression, and then there is a lossless compression while you're encoding these audio and video files. So all of
Understood.
these GSM compression is a lossy encoding.
Okay. Okay.
Right? So in order to handle that, we introduce this synthetic data generation layer, not to handle for scale.
Okay. Okay. Understood. So the context is different. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks, Renu. That was very good. These kind of questions really help many of us understand some concepts very well. Thank you for that. Thanks, Tameesh, as well. So I'm moving on with my flurry of questions here, Tameesh, for you. So if I were to talk about security a little bit, right? Before security, let me just talk about the infrastructure piece. So if I want to be setting up an AI product all by myself, what does it take? Let me start with infrastructure, then kind of build it on top of that. What do I need to, start a product, bare minimum, but still will be. I assume that I have done my business market analysis and I know which product I'm going to build, but how do I start from a technical viewpoint?
Can you, Gayatri, say that question? I mean, elaborate more on that question. Is it more from a tech orientation standpoint, or is it more from?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is all about tech, right? I want to start my own product.
Mhm.
Like Fixit, I want to do something else. Let's say, what is the bare minimum infrastructure, and how do I go about, estimating for what I need to get started first?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think first of all, you don't have to invest until and unless you're building on the foundational side. At least I think we should not be worried about the infrastructure, because these cloud services offer us a lot of preset infrastructure. And the best part is, because they are wanting to onboard a lot of startups customers, they give you a lot of credits to start with.
Mhm.
Okay. So infra should not be a problem. That should be the last problem in today's world. Microsoft does that. Amazon Web Services does that. Google does that. So then the question becomes,
Hmm.
what do I need to, or what tech stack I need to be able to set up on that infra? That's the second level of question, maybe. From a tech stack standpoint, I think there are a lot. It also depends on the kind of tech you are comfortable with, but we have built it on Python as a backend, API is on Python, React is on front end, and then DevOps is entirely on then shells. I mean, some bit of Linux, and then entire DevOps is on Azure. You can choose to switch the language from Python to Node.js. You can switch the language of front end from React to some maybe Angular framework, right? Or you can choose to switch the infra from Azure to AWS,
Hmm.
right? There could be other options as well. As long as there is some bit of a comfort among these few options languages, and that's what I think goes for every product, not just for our product. That backend you have certain languages options available, then you have certain options available in front end, and then on the DevOps side. So that could be the second question that can help you answer that part. The third question again, Gayatri, we were discussing. What is the problem that I'm trying to solve, and what should be the ideal tech stack or infra? For us, the problem statement was ingesting the calls, getting insights, creating that business layer, etc., etc. That's why we moved to Azure. Plus, we've also gotten few credits from Azure in the early days. So that was one of the other decisions. So these three, I think, answers and layers will be the could be the right framework for us to be able to take that decision.
So with my data analyst or my what I mean, if when I say I need a data scientist or an analyst to come in and look at the data part of it and whatever you and Renu were talking about on the cleanup and on getting the synthetic data. So does a person have to know a particular database? Should be very good at that, or what does it take to set up the data layer here? Am I audible, Tameesh?
Am I not audible to you?
No. Now I'm able to hear you. Yeah.
So that's a good question if we go a little deeper. Traditionally, I think people who've been working in the tech space know that we were dependent on RDBMSs, relational databases,
Right.
right? Good thing with these databases were they're highly scalable, worked well with structured data, etc. Nowadays, there are a lot of unstructured databases.
Right.
And now with LLM, we've seen the inception of vector DBs. We are more reliant on these because we are not working with structured information. And storing and retrieval of the information is very, very simple if you're working with the unstructured databases. It's like me reading the document and extracting the information rather than me going through every row, every cell of that table. So there are a lot of options. Chroma, Mongo. We have used MongoDB as a default option because of the fact that it's highly scalable, robust. For GraphDB, we are reliant on Neo4j. So one is where the data, so data layer is also a two-layer process for us, where the data storage, where the data is stored, and where the entity mapping relationship is maintained. That's a
Right.
graph. That's a layer on top of the regular database.
Right.
We are using Neo4j for this, and this we are using Mongo.
Mongo. Okay. Got it. This is very clear. All right. I do have questions on security and I can keep going on and on, but I really want our audience to ask their questions if they have any. We can open it up for audience now. I would request people to put up your hands and we can start going in the order of your hands raised. Do we have questions from the audience now? We have another 13 minutes and an extended 15 minutes from there. Or is there anyone in the audience who wants to share their views to some of the questions that we discussed in your experience? Maybe we have some more intellectual thoughts coming in from the audience. That's also more than welcome.
I have a question. This is
Yeah.
This is Basha. So essentially, you have two components. One is the software piece, which handles the application, and there is an intelligence piece, right? And the intelligence has been handled by the LLMs. And I understand your product is more of an on-prem product. You need to set up and then in the client intersection. What I want to understand is like the models are getting emerged. It is getting evolved over a period of time, right? Yesterday it was 3 months before it was Llama 3.2. Now it is Llama 4. Because of this, some of your techniques, software will get taken care by the models itself, right? For example, dialogue based or a better fine tuning, a better prompt engineering and all. So how do you manage this? You piggyback with whenever model releases a new version, you piggyback and keep sending a software update. Or how do you manage this changes? This is more evolving, right? How do you manage this? Because this is something core to product. I come from in the process background, so we build a lot of use cases in the process side of it, be it productivity improvement or bringing in efficient product. But A in product is something interesting topic to me.
Yeah, I would say it's actually a good thing that these models are evolving because it would have been a problem for us if we were competing with these models, right? These foundational models. But in our case, we are an application layer on top of these models. See, the underlying, let's say, we're using GPT for insight generation. Tomorrow, if GPT-5 comes into picture and everything is aligned, it is able to, let's say, add tonality part to it. Since our model pipeline is built in such a way that it's a plug and play, I would not even think twice to remove my pipeline and throw it away and say, that, okay, now within same cost, same pipeline, scalable system, I'm able to extract that information for you. Since we are an application on top of this underlying foundational model, it's actually a good thing that if these models continue to evolve and provide more accurate insights. Does
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, but from a client side, if the system is set up and stable, the little bit of disturbance will get into issues, right? When, for example, you understand, right? When you keep moving upgrades, if the system fails for some reason, you have to handle that. So, is there a mechanism to how do you manage this situation? Because upgrades are not easy. Because there's something running in on-prem, you have to keep pushing it.
That's true with every software product. I mean, if there is an upgrade, you do not push to production till the time you do testing. So we were following the same approach and ideology in this process as well, that even if there is a model upgrade, before pushing it to production, we do a thorough testing of certain success criteria that we've been able to define over a period of time, right? And since we've been working on it over a period of time, there are good amount of success criteria that we've been able to define.
Okay. I mean,
Once
you have defined a framework to measure the success and then move it to.
Yes. Once we are confident that this is adding value, we then deploy it to the production.
I have one more question, GD, I may ask.
Please go ahead, Bashar. But just one point I wanted to check in the same question that you asked. If the models are getting upgraded and you keep getting a new version, it's all compatible. Whatever you've done becomes compatible, right? It's nothing out of whack.
It'll be compatible, GD. What is happening is today, the models get upgraded because the fine tuning is losing.
The problem isn't fine. Got Bashar.
Got it, right? So because they're better modeled and it has a better reasoning and it has gives you better accuracy. Again, the software piece of it, because it's when you say product, it's not just the A part. It has a major piece of software. Right? So I mean, the whatever is applicable for a software upgrade, is that the same for model? That's my question. I think Tameesh answered it. The second part of the question, Tameesh, I mean, when you use this LLMs, what is not avoidable is this hallucination. I don't think we can avoid this. It is liable.
Yeah.
How do you manage this observability part? You have to deploy. I mean, you have an additional component which does this monitoring piece. How do you manage that?
I mean, we can only do so much in terms of we cannot remove hallucinations completely. We can minimize them, and that's why, if you remember, I was explaining, we've added a business layer on top of that insight layer where we are saying Ferrari is good, but let's also get back to the basics and go on Alto at the same time. That let's also embed traditional AI models, which were, let's say, not multimodal, but they were good at doing one thing, but they did that one thing with 100% accuracy or very high accuracy percentage. So we've created a business layer on top of this insight layer, wherein we are using these traditional NLP, neural networks, ML, classic classifiers, ML, machine learning models, to be able to reduce the hallucinations from these agentic workflows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Renu, you want to ask your question? You still have more.
No, GD.
No, Renu, I'm sorry.
No, I'm fine. I don't ask more questions. I'll let others ask. So yeah.
Yeah. I would have expected people to put up their hands. Looks like there's nobody putting up hands. You can continue with your questions, please.
But I just want to add on to what Renu asked some time back. So Renu, is that I mean, you said like there is a it can't accept beyond certain size of the data. Is that something that the context window of this large language model? Because every model has a limitation. It
is the context window problem. Yeah.
Okay.
And Renu, I'm happy to the kind of problem that you're explaining, I'm happy to discuss it offline to understand more on the problem statement, again, in the interest of time right now.
Great. Thank you so much. I'll connect after this.
Hi, JD. I have a question.
Please, Sheikh.
Yeah. So, has Tapish, you are working with the tool from the past 6 months, and you have experience of about 5, 6 years on the uh, AI. So, has a developer like we are just entering into this AI has a kind of a newbie for us. So, what do you think? What do you suggest for the developers? Like, what kind of skills we have to one has to upgrade ourselves, because we know that we know Python, we know MongoDB has a individual work wise, but has a AI perspective, how should we join together, and what upskill we need to be working on? If you can just put some words on that.
I mean, that's the most frequent question I'm asked. And the only answer I have is I don't think you need deep AI expertise to be able to work with these models. One good thing is they have revolutionized the usage of AI so much that basic understanding of how these models work at an application layer. If you know how to work with ChatGPT, you should be able to work with these models. And gone are those days when we used to build MLOps pipeline to make ML models scalable, robust. Testing these models, it was a pain because we have to retrain model every time if we were to provide a new set of data. Now, I think all of that is gone. So if somebody asks me today, what do I need to be able to become a good AI developer? I would say decent understanding of DevOps, decent understanding of any programming language, Python or anything, and problem solving capabilities. If you know, which is design thinking, etc., to be able to break down. If you know these three, you should be able to work with any AI solution today.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's an honest answer. I don't know what people will say. And maybe 3 years down the line, first two things might get eliminated. The only thing you'll need is problem solving, and rest cursors and lovable of the world will be able to handle it for you. Right?
Okay, Tameesh. Yeah, thank you.
So, but we will still need that cream of developers who are very good at writing the software for those, maybe a fewer pieces. You can do the real rest of the coding with Lovell or whatever else that you may have. But still, you will need a thin layer. But I think the layer becomes too thin because you need very good, very few.
Very few. I mean, if I want to understand something in French, I should be able to understand the basics of French. So you should be able to understand very, very basic concepts of programming. Rest, everything will be able to, these products will be able to handle it for you.
Sure. I know we have another 2 minutes as per the original schedule. Since there is no more people asking questions, I just have a couple of them, one on security, and the
I
other
have
one
one
on
question. No,
Rizwana.
go
You
ahead,
please go
JD.
ahead. I can ask my questions. You please go ahead. I want audience to ask. Go ahead, Rizwana.
Okay. In this AI, any LLM that we train or anything, it's all the data that we feed into. The data that are, 10 years older or the 10 days older. It depends, right? It depends on the use case also. But these datas will have a bias, social bias, and any biases, right? Now, the system that we build or any AI that we build will have these biases, right? Then eventually the human intervention will require. How do we 100% trust that yes, this tool can give a right information? We will never get there, is what the common understanding as of now we have, at least most of us. What is your take on this?
You can't trust 100% anyone, I would say, is one. I was talking to Gayatri when we started this call. I was not able to set up Zoom. So yes, you're right. The underlying architecture of these models is such that they're trained on historical data, right? And there is so much history involved. when there is so much history involved. And that's the reason these models are not able to do decision making, because decision making is a combination of history as well as your current scenario, right? Since there's so much history involved, there's a little bit of improvement in terms of reducing the hallucinations. Either you add a layer on top of that, how we have done it, but still we've not been able to remove it completely. Or another OpenAI type organization or somebody in the world, maybe we do, I don't know. We create a rework on the architecture of these models where history should not be put a lot of weightage while making these decisions in these models. There has to be an architectural change. So I'm getting into this technicality because a simple answer to your question is 100% accuracy is a myth. Whether it is with humans, AI, computers, software, 100% accuracy is a myth. So it will take its own sweet time to even reach 99%.
Right.
And honestly, my
Thanks.
take
Thank you.
is, Rizwana and Tameesh, if I may here chime in, I think the amount of work that we will have in terms of even the structured data, cleansing of it for it to be fed into the systems for every organization worth its salt, right? That itself is going to be a whole lot of work. So that's why I keep harping on the data bit a little bit, because there's so much work to be done there, and then making it in a format that is understandable. So there's a lot of the basic training data getting set in the right sense, that is there. And basically it's garbage in, garbage out, right? Whatever we put in is what it's going to give. Of course it has a hallucination problem, bias. If your data is biased, it's going to give you biased data. So I guess this is my take, Tamish, as far as the
Yeah.
accuracy itself is
So
concerned.
I have a question. Can I go ahead? Sorry.
Who's this? It's shown as Zoom
This is
user.
Krishna. This is Krishna. Sorry.
Krishna, just hold on a minute. There's someone waiting. Siddharth has been holding up his hand. Please hold
No
on, let him
problems.
ask this question.
No
Siddharth,
problems.
go ahead, please.
Hi, good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
So, a twofold question. First, are you deploying Fixit on this stream?
Are we deploying Fixit on?
This stream that we're having right now, the talk that you're doing right now?
I wish I was, but no. That's
And so it was actually the second question which follows is if there's a conversation precisely like this, which is largely one-sided. Would this be helpful in gauging how you should be presenting to make it more clearer or to make it more receptive? Or would it just work when there's a twofold kinetic conversation?
sorry, can you elaborate more?
Since Siddharth, tell me if I got it. If Fixit was used on this call, would Fixit be able to tell us how to make this conversation better? Is that the question?
In the most simplest way, yeah.
Yeah. That's again one of the most common questions I've bombarded with. Short answer is no, because Fixit is trained and fine-tuned on sales-specific conversations. This conversation it can transcribe the data for you. It will be able to give you certain level of insights. But if you want to understand the true power of insights in the decision making, you'll have to feed in the sales specific or customer support specific data. In this sort of scenario, if we feed this information on Fixit, it will be able to give you very generic information. But that will be good enough for you to be able to understand what happened in this conversation.
Got it. Thanks.
Thanks for that. Good questions. Krishna, you had a question?
Yeah, this is again on the bias of the data. So just comparing to with how we learn in our days, right? And mostly systems are also being trained in the name of LLMs or other modules, SLMs, right? So is there a way that um, the system starts looking out for information beyond a point? Because somewhere I heard that uh, machine learning has reached an optimal stage because there is enough of information that has come in and it's not going to hear more or it's not going to learn more. uh, how do we reach this place. I'm only getting confused because, the one side we are telling that um, enough of information has already been put in, and LLMs have already reached a stage of saturations and other things. On the other side, we are telling that there is a lot of bias in the system. Both cannot be true. Sort of getting confused when this crops up when you say there is a bias in the system. Yes, it's possible because I would normally react to
So we
how I
got
am
the
being taught.
question, Krishna. In the interest of time, we got the question. Would let Tameesh answer.
Uh, Gayatri, don't kill me if I go into that narrow versus broad AI. You told me not to. So,
Everybody knows it, but please go ahead. Go
yeah.
ahead, please. Yeah.
So, Krishna, I think, first of all, learning is a never ending. I mean, whether it is human being or AI, it's what people mean when they say that it has reached the saturation is not data being fed into the system. It means the current capability, what the LLM was supposed to do. At the end of the day, what is LLM doing right now? It is helping you. It was originally designed to retrieve information for you, which is form of a content generation, right? Or be able to summarize certain areas for you. They say that it has reached the saturation in those aspects. Now, on the architectural level, which is my transformer reinforcement learning architecture, they've done so much work that you can't improve the intelligence of that system. But still, it fails with decision making. What do I mean by decision making? If there is a car, and it's a classic question that we've been hearing all our lives, at least for the last 5 years. If that, let's say, automatic car is driving on the road, one side it's your relative who's on the road, and the other side it's a small child, young child. Which one to, I mean, run over? Which person to kill? If let's say there are only two options, that's a real life decision making. LLMs can't do that because they are acting based on the historical information. Yes, they've reached a maturity which can't be improved further, but for certain use cases. But what this guy Sam Altman is talking about, AGI, artificial super intelligence, etc. They are envisioning a system where system is smart enough to take decisions. Right now, LLM is acting on your prompts. It is not taking decision on its own. If you ask something, it will be able to fetch you that information. That's the current capability. We are in the middle. The epitome is, or the heights of the system is, the system is smart enough to take its own decisions on its own without you prompting that. So there we are just starting. Does that answer your question, Krishna?
Yeah, very much, very much. Thanks. And
Good dissection of where we are. Thanks, Tameesh. I think Vivek has also asked a question on chat. Vivek, do you want to articulate it yourself? We would like to hear your voice.
This is Vivek here. For example, the one of the major problems or what we have in a kind of a integrated application, which has a lot of modules, is making the model understand the business context. Say for example, in your case, if you want to understand how the sales has improved from on vis-a-vis a basis of a customer satisfaction, so it has to access basically data from multiple uh, entities or multiple module. If you take in the case of a module, we can say on an application side, you can say it's multiple modules. So from multiple modules, you have to kind of access data and get it done. So some of the ways which we do is we try for some of the cases we give some few short examples. Some we try to handle through system prompts. Have you kind of found out kind of a benchmark or the good way or the correct way of kind of making it understand? Do you have any examples, or you're kind of I want to take some inputs, if you kind of mastered it, by how whether by when to go for few shots, or which can be more scalable kind of a thing, like when to go for some prompts or kind of a thing.
So I'll reiterate the question for my own understanding. You're saying, are few shots the right way to move forward, or there are better ways that we've explored? Is that your question?
Yeah, to make it to maybe to, kind of simplified it, but the actual problem, like what now currently we are facing, is like ours is a huge ERP application, like so it starts from like from procurement, sales, to inventory, to entire gamut of operations are there. So when a query comes in, like the main challenge or the for us is to get the context appropriately, because a question would require it to access too many modules of data and then get it forward there. So one of the ways of like making it understand is like we have gone through a few shots, and also through prompts also, like we have achieved it. So I want to understand like which is the better method, like whether is there anything else to be done, or there are only these two options are available.
I mean, few shots was good maybe 6 months back or 1 year back. I would say try agentic workflows. They are life-changing. Land graphs are frameworks through which you can create an agentic workflows. These agentic workflows, imagine them as different people working on their own set of goals. Shot is where you define this is what is, if this is this is what will happen, right? You can give examples. Agentic workflows is a framework where you create multiple agents and define, for the lack of better word, create a personality of these agents with their objective goals and outcomes. And these agents are interacting with one another with their specific goal in mind. And then there is a master agent which delegates the task based on the information that is provided to a respective agent. Okay. So that you will be able to, and I think OpenAI, if you have recently seen all these 4.0, 4.5, etc., they're doing nothing. I think this is what Krishna was saying. They're not improving the underlying architecture of these LLMs. They're just fine-tuning these agentic frameworks in the backend. All this 4.5, research, O3, etc. These are nothing but an extension of original 4 GPT-4 model with these auto, and they're calling it as an auto GPT.
Okay.
Right? So try agentic workflows. I think you'll be able to see a lot of better results than just few shots.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Almost at the close of the hour, the buffer time is also running out. We have another 3 minutes. I just want to take a moment to thank you so much, Tameesh. We are still not done. I think this is only the starting of the series. We will definitely want you to come and talk about your product and demonstrate your product, and whatever concepts we've talked today, if we can take it back to how your product is handling, I think that kind of complete the circle. We definitely want to do that. I would really love to keep segmentizing this into every topic that we have spoken today. Right, we want to talk about just the DB part of it, just the business layer part of it. If we can go and take each of these and go deeper, I think that will be really good. And we will do it with multiple products and startups. That is the whole idea of this showcase series. Thank you for being the first one to be here, Tameesh, and thanks to each one of you to join this. Hope this was helpful. There will be feedback that we are seeking from you. Would kindly request all of you to put in your views and also talk about what else can help you get up to speed. What we are trying to do with Applied AI is to get the AI community together with better insights, better knowledge, and experiential learning from startups like Fixit. Right. On that note, thank you all so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Vaidri. Thank you for everyone for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.